Hey everyone, Ian Highfield of Game Like Training. I'm a performance coach and I use Capto to capture data in a performance environment.
Hi everybody, JB, Capto coach here, Capto expert and putting and short game specialist. Um, and I work mostly on developing putting skills and in the entire range of putting and short game, and also working for the Capto company. So Ian, second episode. On the first episode, we talked a lot about how we make assessments with players, and of course, in general, what you want after making the assessment, you want to come up with a training plan, right? Because assessing a player for assessing a player is like, well, that doesn't really make sense to me, because the reason why you make an assessment is because you want to know where are the strengths and weaknesses of a player. So I'm really interested. We talked in the first episode that you go out with a player, you play a couple of holes, you maybe get feedback from if you have questions, or if you think there is a technical problem. But what is your process of getting from that assessment into building a program for the next couple of weeks, for example?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I would spend quite a lot of time collecting this data, and I would make sure that it's in context, as we discussed in episode 1. Okay. And then I need help, right? I'm a performance coach. I don't know much about the putting stroke. I probably know enough to be dangerous, right? Where I should stay clear. So I bring in an expert like you, Preston Combs, people like, I don't bring these guys in, but I would love to, Phil Kenyon, David Orr. I'm going to find someone who really knows about putting and give them the data. Yeah. And ultimately, they're going to analyze the data for me, and they're going to tell me, hey, so this is maybe the technical change. And then we might have a conversation about what I saw on the golf course. Can they read greens? Do they get stressed? Do they have a good pre-shot routine? Et cetera, et cetera. Because I don't think you can fully separate technique, mental, performance, and physical. There's got to be some form of overlap. So
yeah, I agree, absolutely. It's more of a holistic part, right? They are different segments. I call them elements. You have a couple of putting elements, but they're not separate. They really, all of them have influence on each other, and that's the beauty of coaching, right? If you can find in all the elements what brings them together, and you can push those buttons with your player. That's when you can see big improvements in short times, even sometimes. So
absolutely. So the expert will tell me what they think needs to happen technically. I'll have a discussion of, could it just be on a certain putt? Could it be that they're not reading grain? Could it be that they get tentative when they get close to the hole? Do they tense up? Do they need some breathing exercises, some visualization, whatever it might be? And then my training plan would be based around, okay, what's the lowest hanging fruit? How can we help this player the fastest? If they need to make a technical change, the training would look very, very different to if it was, say, green reading, or if it was, again, say, dealing with stress or pre-shot routine or being able to put under pressure. They would all look very, very different. So
that would be interesting. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because I can, like you said, probably when the assessment results in, okay, the lowest hanging fruit, I like that expression, by the way, is technical. You would probably seek outside help, right? Like you said, because you're more of a performance coach. I often call that, I do a lot of second opinion coaching.
Yeah, absolutely.
So people send me their Capto data and a couple of videos of that player. I analyze it and I give them a technical blueprint of what I think that player should develop with the information that coach gives me. But can you give us a couple of examples? Like you have two players, you did an assessment out on the course, and one player, the lowest hanging fruit would be more technical.
Yeah.
And how you would use Capto in that.
Yeah.
And then the other player is more of a performance, where the lowest hanging fruit would be more a performance thing. And how would you use Capto in those different situations?
Yeah. So number one, the technical person, we're going to use like the biofeedback and the parameters, and we're going to use the images and video, so that we're not guessing, so that we're measuring. But we're going to use it in what I would call an interleaved environment. So interleaving is where you take one or more tasks and you rotate between the tasks. So if you have two tasks, you go task 1, maybe you do 5 reps. Task 2, maybe you do 5 reps, and then back to task 1. You could have 3 tasks, 3 reps in task 1, 3 reps in task 2, 3 reps in task 3. So let's say the technical change was something to do with their wrist at impact. So I would have them at station 1 work on their wrist at impact, and I would allow their Capto to measure, and I would allow them to look at that data. Awesome. And they would get up to 5 balls. So it might be 2 or 3 practice swings, 1 ball, no target, maybe to a T-peg, maybe not, doesn't really matter. But it's true focus on the movement. And a lot more slow practice swings than hitting balls. But once they've got through 5 balls, they might then go and have a chipping task where they have to chip it inside 3 feet. If they don't chip it inside 3 feet, then they have to attempt the putt. Now, I'm going to leave the Capto on, but they're in a performance task. They're not going to look at the computer screen now, but I'm going to see if they're starting to join the dots.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that. I mean, in the same session, you split the technical part and you still build in a performance component. And I love what you said about, we talked in episode 1 a little bit on feedback. So especially if you're talking about performance, you don't want to get feedback all the time. If you're working more technical, it's actually really valuable to get instant feedback, okay, to make that connection in your mind. Okay, this feeling produces this kind of number. So if I want to influence that number, how can I change that feeling?